too much. Almost too much.
Because they knew enough to get in and out of the house undetected.
Where,
so I'm assuming
Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Zaina were brutally killed in that house. Any incidences were off the here. What I find odd right now, this is where 4 slain victims attended school. Was an entry into that home, and I believe it was that bedroom. Collaborate, and we go across it and actually tamper it down. To go find that person and find out why that knife was. City of Mount Vernon, Washington, covering the case of the Idaho. Keep your eyes and ears open. God bless you.
I hope you feel better, Mommy. I want you to have a fun time with
On trip 1 is that 4 people lost their lives.
Well, good afternoon, my beautiful people. Thank you for supporting me on this new channel. We're going to start out small because we're building from the floor up, from the ground up. We're going to build a great foundation for this new channel, which is going to be political in nature and getting us the information that we need related to what is going on out there in the big bad world. I don't expect everybody to understand the law. I don't expect everybody to understand why the states are fighting the federal government. What are the nuances? What are the federal government's responsibility? What is the state's responsibilities? Well, we're going to start covering that, because one of the things that I've noticed being out here is that people have no idea what the hell they're talking about. That's just the name of the game. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. I'm trying to enhance my voice. I've been checking my videos out. I think my voice has been a little too low for how loud I truly am. So I don't expect this to be a wildly busy live, but I do hope you guys start sharing this channel around, and I hope Right Mood Broadcasting actually starts becoming noticeable and reputable out there in the political world. In the political world, it's much different than the real world, okay? Right now, we have states and the federal government colliding. We've got people using state people like the mayor of Chicago using words like civil war. Shame on the mayor for doing that. He is absolutely, the Democrat Party are trying to destabilize our country, first and foremost. And they're trying to take it over. Why? Because they cannot win. Regardless whether you're a Democrat or not, the bottom line is you do not have enough votes. Okay? Whether you like your politics or not, you don't have enough votes. So what are the Democrat parties doing? They are bringing in the votes. They're giving them Social Security cards. They're giving them driver's license. And they're putting us in harm's way over what? Power and money. Greed. While they're pointing the finger and saying, look over there, look at those millionaires. We need to take their money. We need to take their money, right? While they're taking all their money in and hiding it from everybody. So the billionaires and millionaires are attacking the other billionaires and millionaires on the other side of the street saying, we need their money. Yet none of these people that are saying they believe in these policies have given up their wealth to their party. We haven't seen Hillary Clinton give up her millions and billions of dollars of overseas funds and standing to the people of her community, have we? It's funny, when it comes to these people, it's always everybody else's money. They want your money. They want to spend your money, but they never want to spend theirs. And that's the problem that I see going on in and around this country. But before we get started, oops, and you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to set up my screen. Give me just a second here while I get my screen set up. I don't know how I missed this, but I did. Uh-oh. Where am I? Facebook. There I am. Okay. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize how fumbled up that I've got my screens here because I'm doing different platforms, different screens. But I thought this was funny. I thought this was hilarious. Somebody sent this to me. I don't know who the heck sent this to me, but somebody sent this to me. I thought it was funny. I thought you guys would get a laugh out of it. So I figured we'd start the Bullhorn Betty channel off with a laugh.
I got to thinking, there's MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. MAGA, Make America Great Again. But what we really need to do is make America follow the Constitution again. Motherfucker. That sounded better in my head. I got to thinking, there's MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. MAGA, Make America Great Again. But what we really need to do is make America follow the Constitution again. Motherfucker.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop it. Okay, we won't do it again. Okay. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not as funny as I think I am. Maybe that's the problem. I'm just not that funny, okay? Nobody said Bullhorn Betty's a comedian. You guys think I'm funny sometimes. I don't think I'm funny. But we do have a serious matter, because this is one of the reasons why I developed this channel, is because you guys need to know. You guys need to know, okay? The bottom line is we've got a lot. This is truly good versus evil. This is horrible people versus good people, okay? And these are the type of representatives. They're so messed up in the head, in my opinion. They don't even know how messed up in the head they are. That's pretty messed up. We have got mental illness leading this country. And this right here, this Jay Jones, is no different. Text messages wishing his opponent not only was deceased, murdered, but also the children. This politician's children, according to Jay Jones, is also on the chopping block. Fantasized about shooting the former Virginia GOP speakers. But it went a step further. To go after the children. This is becoming a problem. These are insightful language. Whenever you have a very much, because let's face it, they've tried to destabilize America. Therefore, they're pumping out a lot of mental illness. How are they doing that? They're getting these kids really confused early on, having them do terrible things to their bodies. Then they wake up one day and realize, oh my God, what have I done? And now they're very angry 20-something-year-olds that realize they just threw their life down the drain. And it's going to be very, very difficult to undo what they've done. And so now these people are kind of psychological. Now they're mental. Now we got a mental problem. We went from having a body dysphoria problem to now a full-fledged, mental crisis scenario with a lot of our young youth. Then we ignore it. We enable it. We act like it's not what it is. And then we send them out into the world. And lo and behold, we have governors. We have House people, and we're scratching our heads saying, how in the hell are these people getting into office when they need to be in mental institutions? Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say Jay Jones needs to be a mental institution. He needs help. He needs a lot of help. But this is also very important because each and every one of you need to know that not only did he wish death upon his opponent, he wished death upon his opponent's family and children, citing, well, you know what, if they don't feel the pain, they won't know how to make these changes. Let me ask Jay Jones one thing. Have you lost somebody in your life? I certainly have. It doesn't change my stance on gun rights. I've watched somebody get their head blown off, their neck blown out, as a matter of fact. Many of us did. His name was Charlie Kirk, somebody I knew. Got his whole freaking neck blown out. It does not change my opinion on the Second Amendment. No matter how many of my family members you want or wish to be murdered, and no matter how many of my family members are actually murdered upon your wishes, it is not going to change my opinion on the Second Amendment. Nothing will change my opinion on the Second Amendment because I know that it's all orchestrated. I know it's them orchestrating these horrible atrocities across this country to gain control over our guns, and I will not comply. You can kill my whole town. I still will not comply because I know it's orchestrated. This is an evil person. I hope if you're in Virginia, you take notice and you kick this kind of nonsense out of your party, but not just out of your party. You make him lose so abysmally at the elections that people learn that they need to start keeping quiet. You wish death upon people. Nobody thinks that that's a good candidate position. Okay? Especially when we hear other people talking about civil wars and trying to destabilize America so they can have control and money and power, i.e. the Democrat Party. We're tired. We're tired of it. So please, if you guys are going to the ballot box, please remember, Jay is not your friend. Jay wants to murder you if you think differently than him. As a matter of fact, he wants to murder your entire family if you don't agree with him, because he wants you to feel pain. He wants you to feel pain because you don't think like he does, so you deserve to feel pain. Excuse me. Delilah Bullhorn, come in here. Come. No. We're not going to be a heathen. We don't bark at ghosts. Come. Get in here. Am my mic alive? Hopefully you guys can hear. Of course you can hear. Go lay down. No, don't come over here. Go lay down. Quit barking at the wind. Good gracious. So when you guys go to the ballot box, Jay Jones is not your friend, because if you think any differently than him, he wants you dead. Okay? This is the kind of people that that want to run our country. Okay? Just to let you know, Cupcake. Just in case you didn't know. And we're going to get into this because I've got documentation here. We're going to figure out who has the authority. Do the states have authority or does the federal government have authority? We're going to break that information down right here. And believe me, this is probably a little bit of a better breakdown than what you're going to get from mainstream media. So if you're interested in knowing the truth, stick around. If not, you know what? Have a great day. God bless. I love being an ostrich. I wish I could be one. I just can't.
But Democrats are refusing to help. Yeah, and we're talking about the chaos that has broken out in Portland, Oregon, and in Chicago. The split screen you see here, the absolute violent assaults and riots happening as the
governors should be embarrassed. Coming out here to America saying their cities are safe and this is what they give them. And they intentionally do this because they know that they need to be working with the federal partners and enforcing federal law, and they're refusing to enforce federal law. So really, the Democrat Party are creating this entire scene out there because what they want is they want to create this scene so they can call Trump tyrannical, right? but he's not being tyrannical. They're forcing this on them because it's either you get the people out of this country, which is what 83 freaking million Americans, the majority of Americans voted for, is to get these people out. I don't care if they're nice people, okay? I don't care. If they're great, law-abiding citizens, why didn't they come in here legally? So I don't want to hear. Your first introduction to America is a crime. I'm a law and order chick. Like, I ain't buying this bullshit, okay? We're not buying it. It's just not going to happen. Your first crime into our country is breaking in. If somebody broke into my house, do you think I would welcome them to stay? Let me ask you that. Let me ask each and every one of you that question. If somebody broke into your home, are you going to continue to invite them to stay? I don't know about you or what kind of person you are, but me? No. The answer is no, I would not. If somebody broke in my house, I'd call law enforcement and have them removed. Interesting. Interesting. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're having them removed. And in any other time in our society, the governors would work with ICE agents to do that. Say, if Kamala Harris was the president and she wanted to do the exact same thing, these assholes, Governor Kotex Tampon and Dick Pricks, right, would be all about helping them, not making this scene out in their streets. But make no mistakes, 83 million Americans voted for this, and by God, we are going to get them out of our country. Now, we can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. Obviously, these governors have made the choice to do it the hard way, and we're happy to oblige, okay? And therefore, you have these type of anarchy-looking war zones in their community that they created themselves. They created themselves to drive a narrative, i.e. put their constituents literally in harm's way for a vote, money, power. That's disgusting. That is disgusting. I don't care whether you like the president or not. That is disgusting. Look what they are doing to their communities. And trust me, federal government, I'm going to put the brakes as much as I can on you helping to pay to clean this up once it's all said and done. I don't care if you drop a Moab on here. We ain't helping. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. That's the system I'm from. You know, back when we actually had good education and people that came from the world of hard knocks. This is disgusting.
Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, saying, I want to be clear, there is no need for military troops on the ground in the state of Illinois. Go out to
Yeah, he's got it covered, can't you see?
Portland, Oregon, the same exact thing you're seeing there, the same violence in the streets, more than...
Yeah, and oh, by the way, with all the violence in Portland, which is 10 times the amount in Chicago, they had 2 arrests. Okay, I just want to make sure you guys understand that. 2 arrests in Portland. All that thuggery, that mayhem. You know what they need to do? They literally need to abolish Portland Police Department. It's not a police department. It's a second arm of Antifa. That's it. That's it. It's a corrupted organization. They all need to be put in jail. All of them. There's not a good, and I said this on my earlier live on the Bullhorn Betty channel. You know, do you know how I know that all the officers in Portland are garbage? Because the ones that aren't garbage would have transferred. So all that's left over is the garbage, is the shit. Okay? The officers that no other agency would take. That's who's running the Portland Police Department. And that raging alcoholic lunatic of a police chief? What a disgrace. What a disgrace. All under the leadership of Kotex Tampon.
100 days of violent assaults on the ICE facility in Portland, as the Attorney General there in Portland says that Portland is not the president's war-torn fantasy. Our city
Not worn torn at all. Please, come one, come all. This is the vacation destination. If your achievement is homicide, if you want to be murdered and bludgeoned and raped, by all means, please. I'll send you. I think I could probably get you, fly you out there, get you a whole. We'll just throw you on the street since you really don't care, right? So I think we can get you out there for $100, folks. What a trip! What a deal! What a deal! You feeling kamikaze? You feeling, hey, you know what? I want a wild. Let's ditch Mexico, right? Let's ditch the Caribbeans, and the pirates and stuff. Let's go to Chicago. Let's go for that murder mystery dinner. Make sure if you go to Chicago or Portland, you have your will and your final, make peace with life before you go. Tell your family where your last will and testament is. You're probably going to need it because they're probably going to have to ship you back. I'm just saying, it's getting that bad out there. Look at this place. It's in shambles. And we got 2 governors lying to our face saying they have no problems in their states. We're going to get to why Trump is moving in and what his authority is to move in as well.
Is not ravaged, and there's no rebellion. Joining us now, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Madam Secretary, we just showed our viewers exactly the reality of what's playing out, and then the rhetoric of the Democratic leaders, and it seems to tell 2 different stories.
Yes,
because the Democrat leaders are lying to the public. And those piece of shit judges, hey, piece of shit judges, even the ones Trump appointed, y'all better get in line, because I'm telling you, people like me are only going to put up with so much. We know where you live. We have no problem protesting in front of your house. We have no problem making you famous in your very unfamous life. We have no problem. I'm happy to do it. As a matter of fact, I should be in front of Corey's business right now. I've showed him some grace, on the back of... I showed a lot of people some grace on the back of Charlie Kirk. I don't know how much of grace I'm going to be able to show for too much longer. But at the end of the day, we need to be showing up at these people's homes, okay? I'm a professional protester. I do not believe in violence, but I do believe in voices being heard. I push the limits. There are laws such as noise ordinances, or, me having to go and ask and fill out a form and pay a fee to protest. I don't do that. It's my constitutional right. If you need to know where I'm going to be at what time, I'm happy to tell you, but I'm not going to write a request out to exercise my constitutional rights. You can arrest me, you can do whatever. I'll deal with you at the Supreme Court level. But I will not fill out those. I'm one of these. I'm a constitutionalist, okay? I'm a true blue constitutionalist. You're not going to tell me to fill out a form or pay $35 to exercise my constitutional rights. I will never do that. I will never comply. That in and of itself is protesting. Okay? So, with that being said, I do not believe in violence, but I do believe in raising your voice and being loud and chanting and being peaceful, but also being in front of these people's houses, because while they're ruining our lives or making our lives uncomfortable, we make their life uncomfortable as well. As many of you know, I'm Bullhorn Betty. In my real day job, I show up at people's houses all the time. I kick my feet up. I stay a little while, right? I make sure everybody knows what's going on behind those closed doors. But somehow, when it comes to politicians, we forgot the cardinal rule. They're required to post their addresses on all their documents to run for office. They cannot be anonymous. They cannot be secret, and they cannot hide and lie. But they do. And so it's our responsibility to be the boil on the ass of a politician. And I do that very, very well. I do very, very well sitting behind the table here in a diplomatic place. But I also do it very effectively being in your face outside of your business and letting people know that you're a politician that did bad things. It doesn't matter which way we go. It's still effective. But I always believe in positivity. I always believe in nonviolence. I never believe in taking the law into your own hand. And I always believe in listening to commands, whether I agree with law enforcement or not. When I'm out there on those streets, law enforcement telling me to move, I'll move. Okay? I do things out there. I may say things and be certain ways out there, but I will always follow the commands of law enforcement. Why? Because at the end of the day, they need to be safe and I need to be safe. And the people that are with me need to be safe. We're ineffective going to jail. Okay? That's the way I've always believed. You never want to do anything to put yourself in jeopardy of your freedom, first and foremost. But you cannot be helpful or benefit anybody or any cause if you're going to jail. These people that are out there want to go to jail. These people are not protesters that are outside of these facilities. I know that because I am a professional protester. Okay? And I can tell you, being a professional protester, I've never had to pay 1 red cent for anybody to show up. Furthermore, I've never had to bus in a single soul to any of my events. And some of my events got into the hundreds of people. Okay? In my heydays out in front of Manatee County School Board, we had hundreds of people out there raising their voices. I've never in my life had any of my audience members try to storm a building, even yell or scream obscenities at our school board members. None of that went on. None of that went on. Did we scream obscenities? Yes, but we weren't in the face of people. And I didn't scream obscenities on the microphone with children around. These people are not protesters. This is not constitutionally protected actions. How do I know? Again, professional protester here. I follow every single law. Every law. I work hard to make sure I don't cross that line. These people don't care. They just don't care. But let's listen to Christie.
I've encouraged the governor of Oregon and of Illinois and that attorney general should go down and spend some time with our ICE officers and with our Border Patrol officers and encounter the protesters that they do, because these individuals are shouting hateful things at them, threatening their families, putting their hands on them, and acts of violence are occurring on a regular basis.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be one thing I say everywhere I go. Do not put your hands on me. Even when I'm in rooms, in Board of County Commissioner rooms and stuff like that, and I know that I do get a little hostile in some of those things verbally, not obviously physically. I'm not that kind of person. I will drop like a bag of potatoes. Do not put your hands on me. You can ask me to leave. I'll be happy to walk out, but do not put your hands on me. I'm very big about personal space and do's and don'ts of law enforcement. You do not need to put your hands on me. And that's the same goes for law enforcement. There's not one reason why anybody needs to put their hand on any law enforcement officer ever. That's crazy. That's crazy. And not only that, I think if somebody put their hands on me, I would bust them in their head. And for these law enforcement officers that have a freaking badge to bust them in the head if they get to touch them, I'm surprised that they withhold bashing them in the head, because I sure the hell would smack the shit out of somebody. Don't touch me. Okay? I'm going to tell that for everybody, because I'm allowed to say that. Why? Because it's my personal body. Don't touch me. I will defend myself if you touch me. Be careful, especially in a hostile situation. Don't even tap me on the shoulder unless you're ready to duck. Because you never know. And if I was out here in Chicago and we had a friendly come up to tap me on the shoulder to say hi, you might got a black eye. I might have been swinging as I'm turning. I don't know. It's getting a little crazy out there. I'm just saying. It's getting crazy out there. You know, in those safe war zones, you know. J.B. Prexiger and Tampon Queen, Kotex, right? They're saying it's safe, and it's like, okay, well, we got a friendly, safe war zone over here, okay? We got a couple safe war zones, guys. Don't worry. We know they're safe war zones because the governors tell us they're safe war zones.
Basis. So they're just sitting far away in safe facilities, some of them with protective detail, which is a very different situation than trying to clean up the streets and help protect the families and the victims of these criminals that have been roaming for far too long.
So during the break, you told us that there are actually some individual agents who have been identified and have bounties placed on their heads. Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we had a really strange incident yesterday where we had a caravan of 10 different vehicles that were following our Border Patrol agents and officers that were out there on the streets of Chicago. And
this was very disturbing, guys. Like, this car rammed them. not just rammed them, kept ramming them. You could see them stopping. They even had another agency vehicle go behind the car that was ramming them. I mean, this car was pushing. This person was trying to kill them. The woman and the man, they were trying to kill these agents. Like, they're lucky to be alive. I don't understand why the officers did not put a bullet slap in their head. Because I'm telling you, here in Florida, had it been Florida, both of those people inside that vehicle would have been dead. There would have been no walking away from that. It's just, like I said, we shoot to kill here. We don't shoot to maim. Somebody uses a vehicle to kill deputies? Those people are lucky. That's all I'm saying is God had his hand overlooking that whole situation, folks. You guys have no idea. I'm talking about for the criminals. God had his hand looking out for those criminals. Had it been any other place, any other time, they'd be slapped dead.
They had followed them and gotten them cornered, pinned them down, and then our agents, when getting out of their cars, they tried to run them over and had semi-automatic handguns on them to where our agents had to protect themselves, and shots were fired, and an individual ended up in the hospital that was attacking these officers. Very dangerous situation, and then in that situation as well, this individual had threatened them previously.
Threatened them previously, had a gun, and still walked away alive. Okay, I don't know if the officers were intending to keep her alive or they were just some bad aim, because I've got some questions, because I'm telling you, if this person was in Florida, they would be dead on arrival, okay? I'm sorry. I don't see our officers giving these people any type of room to do this again. You used a freaking car to ram officers? Again, if this was in Florida, every single one of those officers would have unloaded their weapon in that vehicle. Okay? They would have unloaded their weapon. I know that because I've seen it 1,000 times. Like I said, we've got problems in this state, just not these type of problems.
And had told them that they all needed to go down and shouted expletives at them. So our intelligence indicates that these people are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers.
Scary
and they're
stuff.
making plans to ambush them and to kill them.
Scary stuff, folks.
Specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation and unprecedented. So we've
unprecedented. It's not. We're in civil war, folks. I mean, I don't know how the Democrats have hid this for so long, but and not only that, but I'm a raging lunatic on our own Republican side, because how dare you guys put us all in this jeopardy with all of this rhetoric that they've been saying for years. They've not been listening. They've been sticking their head in the freaking sand, and now we got Molotov cocktails and bullets coming our way, and now we're realizing, oh shit, what have they done? Now we're ready to act. Well, now you see what it's taking to stop this. When you start getting into communism, socialism, Marxism, it takes war to get you out of those things. War. We are not even stepped into it yet. And look at all that we're having to do to undo what they were trying to do behind our backs. And now that they're undoing it, what are they trying to do? They're trying to destabilize America, because when America's destabilized, they can attack. They can start moving. The Democrat Party is the party of freaking snakes. All they want is domination and your money and your property. And until they get it, they will never stop. They will just keep coming back as different names. The Democrat Party's pretty much dead. But they'll recycle. They'll come back. I mean, they used to be considered, what were they, the North? Now they're the Democrat Party. We're the Republicans in the Union. I'm pretty sure that's the way it was, because it was the North that wanted to keep slavery, and then slavery is the Democrat Party. That's what a lot of people think, that the Republicans are this party of bigotry. We're the ones that freed the slaves the first go round. We're the ones that are freeing the Hispanic slaves this go round. And look at what we're having to do to free the slaves this go round. Look what the Democrats are doing. They want slavery. They don't care who it is. They want free labor. And they want your money. That's all it's always been about for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years. So what does the president have? What can he truly do out here? Well, there's several acts, okay? There's 3 different acts that come to mind as to whether or not the federal government has the right to go into these communities. The answer is, of course they do. Of course they do. And the number one, I think, act is 10 U.S.C. section 251 to 255, and that's related to the Insurrection Act, okay? And this is for civil unrest and rebellion or domestic violence beyond the control of state authorities. Now, we're seeing state authorities are completely out of touch and have no control over these hot spot areas. That gives the ability for the federal government to go in and clean up those hot spots. However, what we don't have is the actual Insurrection Act being implemented. We don't hear somebody saying that this is an insurrection, we're implementing this act. So even though they do have a right, I haven't heard these be spoken of yet, but they have done and made some moves with respect of putting Antifa on the domestic terrorist, identifying as a domestic terrorist unit. We also have like the Stafford Act, which is used for natural disaster and major emergencies, which in part with them destroying a community, this could be considered a major emergency, depending on how it's legally defined federally. And of course, the National Emergencies Act, which allows presidents to activate certain special powers for national security or crises. Each of these acts are defined how federal power interacts with state and local authorities. So there is this overriding ability the federal government has on sovereign states. So I want to make sure people understand that, because right now it seems as if people think that each state is independent of federal oversight or, federal, insertion. They can insert federal government, they can insert the National Guard, they can insert certain things in different areas for specific reasons. And right now, to me, I think the federal government absolutely, especially the photos and videos that we're getting, how innocent people are being arrested while the people that are creating the mayhem are being just, overlooked somehow in these war-torn areas. I'm going to call them war-torn areas because it looks like a war zone there. And for us to say anything other than a war, W-A-R, torn, T-O-R-N, war-torn area, right? Because they look like war-torn areas. They look like third world countries, and they're right here in the United States. One area being in Portland, Oregon, the other one being in Chicago. Now, I will tell you from everything I've seen and read from every person from the ghettos on up want the National Guards in Chicago, okay? I haven't heard the same for Portland, but I definitely know that I heard over and over and over and over again from multiple people in Chicago, they're tired of the violence. They want to be saved. They are, even with that raid of that apartment building, there were so many people going out. Even the people from the ghetto are saying, y'all, we're so sick and tired of you guys spreading misinformation. That had been taken over by these cartel members, and they were violent cartel members. We're glad they got out. That was not predominantly black. It used to be, but the cartel members took it over and kicked us all out. So they were happy that apartment building was raided, but you wouldn't have known from mainstream media. You would have never known from mainstream media that was the case. Chicago people want the help. It's their governor and it's their mayor that is thwarting the federal government. And the federal government ain't having it. And you know what? I keep hearing on TikTok week after week people applauding the work that they're doing. Screw the governor and screw the mayor. That's my stance on it. Mayor, you got to go. You got to go. You're horrible. And for the people in Chicago, vote Republican. You want safety? You value your life? You value your children's life? Vote Republican. You'll see how cleaned up your area becomes. It'll give you an opportunity to thrive. Can you imagine where you wouldn't need a government? The only reason why the majority of Democrats want or vote Democrat is because they want the federal government to help them. Why? Because they can't make it on their own. Now, if you guys just changed the way you thought just a little bit, and thought, well, if my government wasn't so involved in my life, I might be able to pay my own bills without the help of the government. What about that thought process? Less government, more money in your pocket, more money in your pocket. Folks, if you're in an area and you're a good person and you're in a poor area, quit trying to work for somebody else. Quit trying to work for somebody else. Start living your dream. Can you push that lawnmower for somebody else? Well, you go work for them, save your money, and buy your own lawnmower. Okay? You start becoming the boss. You want to be freed? You're sick of the oppression? You're tired of the gun violence in Chicago? Figure out what is needed and go out and be somebody. Quit allowing your government and your conditions to define who you are as a person. You are so much better than what somebody has labeled your community. I'm sorry that label is coming from your governor and your mayor, but let me tell you, from this girl in Florida, I want to help you. I want to see you thrive. I want to see your children walk down the street and not have to worry about bullets flying by their head. That's what I dream for you folks. I don't want harm. I don't want you to feel like you're in tyranny. I want you to feel free. I want you to be free. That's what I want for my folks. That's exactly what I want for everybody. Everybody. Everybody deserves that. Whether you're poor or not, you deserve freedom and safety.
Put protective detail around those individuals, change some of our operations to keep our officers safe. But make no mistake, this isn't just about, protesting free speech or that they don't like that people out here are upholding the law of our country.
We're working on it,
they're
Bella.
actually going out there and saying, kill these people and we'll give you this much money to do it.
Well, and Secretary, I want to stay on the bounties. Who is issuing the bounties? I know that you guys are looking into groups like Antifa.
How this is all happening is a very coordinated, high-tech, sophisticated event that is funded by billionaires. There's only a few billionaires out there, okay? So we can pretty much identify where these are coming from. So who's funding these radical groups? Bill Gates. That's why I said if you are on an Apple phone and you are sponsoring some of this terrorism going on around this world. Okay, if you have an Apple product, which I do, I'm done with Apple products. But if you have an Apple product, Apple computer, Apple anything, you are paying for some of this hostility going around this world because you are paying Bill Gates. I'm done with Bill Gates. As soon as I have an opportunity, I'm switching out our whole entire system. We will never use another Apple product on the Bullhorn Betty channel again because I refuse to pay for chaos sown throughout the world, and he is the worst. And never mind, if I think he is an enemy, which I do, then we're giving him every opportunity to spy on every single one of us. Bill Gates. That makes me sick. That turns my stomach. He's the only one with the key to access all of our phones. Let's not forget that. Right? Law enforcement can't. But I bet your ass Bill Gates, he knows how to break into every single one of our phones. He knows how to monitor every single one of us. I guarantee that. I guarantee he's not dumb enough not to build a back door. So, with that being said, I do not trust him. I do not want to be with him. I'm done with Apple products. I'm done with Apple products. I am done supporting the mayhem going on around this world. The other person is George Soros. George Soros is one of the most vile, disgusting men that want nothing more than the obliteration of America. So they're supporting all of these groups, and they're being able to do it with clean hands. Because they know that these groups that they are supporting will come up with ideas on how to execute their will. That's why they support them. They just throw money at them. They don't really talk to them too much. Now, I do believe that there are some heads speaking. George Soros is well-funded. His family is well funded. They look crazy as shit. I don't know why we allow their money in this country. I don't know how we can stop their money from coming into this country, but we need to stop them. There's not a whole lot we can do with Bill Gates other than expose him and pray to God that he's made some vital mistakes that's going to throw him in jail for the rest of his life. But other than that, we're screwed with Bill Gates. We're just waiting for the clock to wind down on him. You know? And God knows, with his money, who knows what he's done to his own body to keep himself alive longer. I don't know. These people scare me. These rich people scare me. I will be honest with you. I don't like them. I don't idolize them. I think the only person that seems like a normal rich person is Elon Musk, and he has autism. Maybe that's the reason why I like him so much, right? Maybe that's the reason why I like him so much. But under the 10th Amendment, states retain primary responsibility for maintaining law and order within their borders. Local and state police remain under control of state and local governments, not the federal government, but you see time and time again, they're not even keeping control of that. They continue to enforce state and local laws unless federal order explicitly overrides their authority, which is very rare. It's very, very, very rare. Does it run? I don't believe that. I think you need to go and look at that. So you're telling me the man that invented these things has no idea what's going on with these things? I call bullshit. Why are you here? You don't even like watching me. Just saying. You don't even like watching me. Like, you're blocked on every single one of my channels, so why are you here? I'm not going to block you. I'll let you stay. You haven't said anything that would make me block you, but I'm just saying. I call bullshit. You know damn well that man is a creep. You know damn well that man's been to Pedo Island. I'm just saying. I'm not blocked. I know you're not blocked. This is a new channel. Dum-dum. I'm not going to block you either unless you get unruly. You start getting unruly and you get a little skanky and stanky, then I'm going to block you. Just letting you know. Just letting you know before we start. I think Bill Gates is disgusting. I don't want to own Apple products. I do not support him. If I'm buying Apple products, I am supporting Bill Gates. Period. I refuse to support that animal. So state, local and state powers, the general rule is they take command over their local governments, and unless there's a federal order explicitly overriding them, which again is very rare. I still believe Donald Trump will move into that. Tim Cook runs Apple, Bill Gates runs Microsoft. Well, it doesn't really matter who runs either or. At the end of the day, they're Bill Gates products. I don't care who the CEO is. I don't think Microsoft I don't work on Microsoft either. The only thing I deal with, I don't even like Windows. If I could go without Windows, I'd go without Windows. I do not like Bill Gates. I think he's a piece of shit. And Apple, you guys need to ditch your Apple products. That's my statement. I'm sticking to it. I don't care if it's Tim. I don't care if it's Bill. They're both in bed together. They both have, don't tell me Bill does not have some assets in Apple. I call bullshit. I'm going to have to, where's Grok? Where's Grok when I need him? So let's find out. I don't really care about this argument, but I'll dive a little deeper into it. But it doesn't matter. I'm done with Apple products, and everybody else should be too. Does Bill Gates still have any hand in Apple or Apple products? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, which manages Gates' primary investment portfolio, sold all of its Apple shares the fourth quarter of 2023 and has held none since then. While the foundation previously held $1.8 billion in Apple stock indirectly via Berkshire Hathaway as of 2019, its position was totally divested by 2023 with no reported purchases or holding in 2024 or 2025. Gates himself has no direct personal ownership of Apple stock. I like how they say that. Gates himself has no personal ownership of Apple stock. And Microsoft's historical $150 million investment in Apple. So Microsoft has an investment in Apple. Gotcha. From 1997, which has helped save the company from bankruptcy. So the Microsoft company that Bill Gates owns, he divested in Apple, but Microsoft, the company Bill Gates owns, invested $150 million in Apple to keep them from going to bankruptcy. Got it. And was liquidated by 2003. Claims of 0.06% stake in 2025 appears to be outdated or inaccurate as they contradict SEC filings and portfolio disclosure showing 0 holdings post-2023. So somebody is claiming that there is still a stake. But with the SEC filings, but we're talking about Bill Gates, I know how easy it is to screw up those filings. Any filing's easy to screw up. What does it say? I'm not an Apple fan, better. I don't like Gates either. Well, I'm glad you brought this to my attention, but still, I didn't want to get this invested in it, but if it's going to be this easy just to read something, I'll read it. Gates has consistently stated he does not use iPhones, iPads, or Macs, preferring Android. The product that he actually invented, he doesn't even like. Oh, well, you know what? Scully, you made my day, okay? I have to be honest with you. You've grown on me a little bit in this show. I'll be honest with you. You've grown on me just a little bit. An itsy bitsy bit, because that just made my day. I laughed my ass off. That is some funny stuff right there. Good gracious. Let me read this again because I can't believe my eyes, okay? I cannot believe my eyes. I'm dead serious, is what it says. It says, Gates has consistently stated he does not use iPhones, iPads, or Macs, preferring Android phones. Betty was right. You know what, Sonia? We need a shirt that says Betty was right about everything. We just need a shirt. We need to just quit playing around and put it on a shirt, okay? Betty was right, okay? And then under it, about everything. About everything. Betty was right. Betty was right. Betty was right. I'm just saying I was right. I always told you guys Androids were better. The proof's in the pudding. Even the guy that invented the Apple product doesn't even like it. I don't even think he invented it. I can't remember. I remember having a Macintosh, floppy disk computer that cost like frickin' $3,500 when I was a young kid. It was top of the line. It was like top of the line. I don't know if he was in charge of that, but that was an expensive computer. But I tell you, if you learned on those computers, you know how to seriously break into other people's computers, because everything that we had to do for those floppy disks are what they do online now. So if you know how to store stuff and what you store it as on those, I'm telling you, you could be a one of those what do they call them? Those people that creep into your computer. The ones that we don't like. Not the viruses, but the actual people that go into your computers and steal all your shit. Sorry, I'm rolling backwards. Anyways, so he prefers Android phones. Specifically, he specifically likes if you guys want to know what hackers, thank you. That's what I was looking for. That's what yeah. If you know about the floppy disk system from back way back before, children were born and stuff, like when you were older than dirt, yeah, then you know how to be a hacker. Okay, I forgot because I'm older than dirt. That's another product of aging. You forget a lot of shit. So we're getting up there in age now. I'm a middle-aged woman. I ain't no rock star anymore. Despite what I think. Bill Gates actually didn't help found Apple. It was Steve Jobs. Steve Wozniak. Gates invested in Apple later. Not to troll. That's okay. But he doesn't even like the stuff he invested in? Then how the hell did Bill Gates get all wrapped up in Apple for so long? Because I know Steve Jobs is another wackadoo, dude. Why are all these smart people so freaking creepy? Can anybody answer that? Am I the only one that feels that? Oops. Am I the only one that feels that way? Because Steve Jobs was weird too, wasn't he? Didn't they do like a freaking documentary on him and he was like really out there? Potentially, maybe. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Anyways, let's keep moving on. So apparently he likes the Galaxy Z Fold models. So Bill Gates is a Z Fold phone lover. So specifically the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold model since 2022 and Windows PC for better integration with Microsoft software like Outlook and OneDrive. See, now that's going to make me not want frickin' Windows product. I don't like Bill Gates. Why? How is Bill Gates in everything? No matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're going to have to deal with his scummy ass. Ugh. He has even reportedly banned Apple products in his home. Oh, I love AI. Good gracious. As recently as a 2025 interview, Gates confirmed that he's still using Samsung foldable phones with no shift to Apple devices. He doesn't even trust Apple devices. If the damn guy that invests so much damn money in these things don't even trust them, what does that say about the rest of this? Anyways, I think I'm right. I'm right on the money. Maybe for the wrong reasons, but I'm right on the money. Ditch the freaking iPhone. Somebody's following us, okay? If Bill Gates, one of the smartest men in the country, says he doesn't even trust the devices that he invested in, we're really down a rabbit hole here. This is about politics, okay? Not iPhone gadgets, okay? I just want to make sure everybody understands that this is a political channel. I know we kind of get off in weird spots, but that's okay. We needed to find out. We needed the truth. So the proof is in the pudding. Nobody likes Apple phones except idiots that like to spend a shit ton of money. Okay? There you have it. I know. So it looks like, getting back to this whole thing of where we're talking about, where is the authority coming? We got authority that allows Donald Trump or any president to override local governments or state governments with three different types of powers. You've got the Stafford Act, which is at 42 U.S.C. section 5121 through 5207, and this covers and is used for natural disasters and major emergencies. And then of course you have, which is where I think a lot of our power with what's going on in Chicago and in Portland is going to come from, and it's going to come from the Insurrection Act of 10 U.S.C. section 251 to 255. And this is used for civil unrest, rebellion, and domestic violence beyond the control of state authorities. And this is where they're enacting this stuff in our government right now. And the states are saying, wait a minute, we don't need the National Guards. We've got it under control. And we see night after night after night where local law enforcement do not have it under control. We've got agents being boxed in an ambush and local law enforcement standing down. You have no idea how angry that makes me. Pure anger. If any of those agents had gotten hurt, we would be sitting in a different spot than in Casa de Bullhorn. Because there's some things that I just cannot stand for in this world, and one of them is a corrupted government. And not only a corrupted government that is so corrupted that they let our federal partners out to dry and get harm and hurt done to them, death. If one of our agents had been killed because of this ambush and we get those messages of them standing down, we would have erupted. Let me tell you something, JB. You're playing with fire when it comes to our federal agencies, because we will erupt in your community. Non-violently, but it'll be so much you would not understand where we're all coming from. You're going to see prayer in the middle of your streets. When we stop traffic, it's going to be by the grace of God, not by the grace of Satan. So I think that's where the most of the stuff is coming from, is that Insurrection Act. National Emergency Act 50 U.S.C. Section 1601 to 1651 allows President to activate certain special powers for national security and crises. So that's where we're at. Each of these acts are defined. I've actually defined them a little bit further down the way, but there are things that allow the federal government to basically overtake. And right now, I think the best part is this insurrection, is they're not able to go and enforce federal law, which they are required to enforce. When federal forces are deployed, let's keep reading this. If the president sends federal agents or National Guards, federalized, these are all words that we've been listening to in the news, into an area, the federal forces operate under federal command, not the governor nor local sheriff. Do you guys understand that? When our federal forces go into these communities, they don't listen. You know, all these things, we're demanding them unmask. This is all smoke and mirrors, folks. The reason why they're out there doing these things is to incite their community. They know damn well they have no authority over federal agents. They don't care. They only know that their population is too stupid to know the difference. Well, in the world of internet, in the world of databases and AI, if you choose to be ignorant, that is a choice. But you don't have to be. You can go to ChatGPT and ask it a question. It'll spit out an answer. Not that the answer is going to be completely 100% accurate, but it gives you a starting point for your research. They do not have to speak or coordinate with the state or local government, nor do they have to answer to them. Coordination between local, state, and federal agencies and enforcement is typical. But federal law enforcement supersedes. Federal law supersedes state law if there is a direct conflict. Local police may cooperate voluntarily or be sidelined from certain federal operations, for example, during riots, terrorism, or insurrection situations. However, the Posse Comitatus Act, Posse Comitatus Act, 18 U.S.C. Section 1385 limits the use of federal military personnel for domestic law enforcement unless explicitly authorized, for example, under the Insurrection Act. So we're going to have to invoke an Insurrection Act, I I don't know if when we invoke that, if that's locally, if that's for a specific state, or if that has to be the entire United States and might be the reason why. We'll have to dive into those legalities a little later. I did not dive into those for this initial live. If state or local government objects, which we're seeing a lot of objection going on. Hey Eeyore, it's nice to see you. So we're hearing, Kotex tampon from Oregon, JB Dickster, Pritzker, whatever his name is, Shyster. They're all objecting. If the president acts without state consent, as sometimes allowed under the Insurrection Act, so we know that that's kind of the act he's kind of working under, the governor and local officials retain civil authority, but the president can temporarily override their objections if federal law or public safety demands it. And I'd have to say, in Portland as well as Chicago, it definitely, public safety demands it. There is no public safety. You got frickin' Antifa directing traffic. Like, what in the ever-loving... That is a frickin' show. Just saying. State and local police cannot obstruct federal agents or troops exercising or executing lawful orders. Doing so would be considered interference with federal operations. They should be arresting these animals. But they can still enforce state laws independently as long as it does not conflict with the federal mission. So you guys see all of this? At the end of the day, the federal government has every single right to be in Chicago and in Portland by federal law. Federal law supersedes state law. You guys get it? Nobody's doing anything illegal here. They're not being tyrannical. They're not being dictators. They're not trying to genocide everybody. They're just trying to get the criminal, illegal aliens that flooded over our border rounded up and shipped back across the border. It's really just that simple. Okay? It's just that simple. And the reason why the Democrats are having the big problem with it is because the Democrat Party is using these people as voters, which they're not allowed to do. So not only is the Democrat Party the party of chaos, the party of insurrection, the party of murder, they're the party of theft of elections. They're the party with blood on their hands, rape, torture, murder, child exploitation. The list goes on. Oh, weren't those all the names that they used to call the MAGA maggots? Huh. So it really was projection this whole time. Interesting. What? That's what I said. That's what I said. So here's kind of a summary of rights. Local police maintain local authority over local laws, can coordinate with the feds, limits, cannot obstruct lawful federal operations. State police and governor retain state sovereignty, may challenge federal overreach, can be overridden under insurrection or Stafford's Acts. So that means state police and governors are overridden by the federal authorities. The federal government can deploy forces or resources if law allows, must comply with Constitution and statutory limits, which I think they have. And I even went as far as to look up these laws so you guys can get an idea of what these laws trigger. So A is the Stafford Act. And this was the Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act under 42 U.S.C. Section 5121, or through 5207, and the purpose is to coordinate federal disaster assistance for natural or man-made disasters such as hurricanes, wildfires, floods, and chemical accidents, etc. How is it triggered? Usually requested by the state governor after a disaster overwhelms state and local resources. The president can issue a federal emergency declaration. We see this many times through the year. We're going to be seeing it here approaching because we are in hurricane season here in the state of Florida, which, you know, has problems on this side of the United States. Alabama, you know, Louisiana, Mississippi, and then Florida, obviously hanging down here, Texas, and then of course up our East Coast where you have South Carolina, North Carolina, and all of those as you kind of wrap around the East Coast of the United States. So we've heard about those federal emergency declarations, and then that was also put in place during, say, COVID. What it authorizes, it activates FEMA and other federal agencies to provide money, equipment, and technical help, housing, food, and food aid for victims, infrastructure repair and funding. Federal agencies may cooperate but not replace state or local authorities, and local state rights. The governor remains in charge of law enforcement and overall disaster response. Local and state police continue enforcing their own laws, and federal help is supplemental, not controlling. So that's under the Stafford Act, not controlling, unless the state specifically succeeds control of certain operations. So the key limitations is no automatic federalization of local law enforcement or National Guard. Federal forces can only assist separately authorization if separately authorized. So it seems like where the president can override a government is more under the Insurrection Act. So we're going to go over that. And this is 10 U.S.C. section 251 to 255. And it's the purpose is to allow the president to deploy U.S. armed forces or federalized National Guard inside the country. Remember, everybody keeps saying it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. Obviously, it's not unprecedented, because for them to have an Insurrection Act already built into our Constitution or already built into our laws, our federal laws, it means that somebody has insurrected something previously where they had to make a law to make sure it never happened again. So the idea that this is unprecedented is hogwash, okay? Obviously something in our history, I don't know which, maybe we can explore it a little more. I'm not smarter than a fifth grader, and I did not like history growing up. I love history now. What a dum-dum, huh? But at the end of the day, the president is allowed to deploy these armed forces or federalized National Guards inside our country. So it's not unprecedented. To restore public order and to restore public order, or it didn't say and, it said or is a big word. So they can do it to restore public order, or they can do it to enforce what? Federal law, like federal immigration law, when state authorities can't or won't. This seems more in line with what we're dealing with right now, doesn't it? We've got an immigration problem here. It is our federal government's responsibility to enforce our immigration law. We hired somebody to start enforcing our immigration law. They're enforcing our immigration law, and you got twats in Oregon and Illinois that want to thwart their work. Why? Because these people are voting in our elections and they need their votes in order to win. We're stripping them of their money and we're stripping them of their vote, and they're going to be out there and they're going to have to explain to the Democrat Party why they are so unpopular. You know why they're so unpopular? Because the American people didn't vote them into office. It's the foreigners that did. Just saying. So how is this triggered? Let's look at some of these things. 3 main sections in our federal law hits on this, on how it's triggered. These are the 3 main. At the governor's request. We know in the times that we're in right now, the governor is not requesting this information, okay? He's not requesting them to come in. As a matter of fact, they are going without consent. So Section 251 will not govern what we're dealing with here. But if you just want to know what it is, here is what it says. At Section 251, this is at the governor's request, when a state governor requests help because local forces can't suppress an insurrection, riot, or rebellion. This is Section 2, okay? This is under Section 252, and this is without the governor's consent. And it says, when unlawful obstructions or rebellion make it impossible to enforce U.S. law in any state. So we're dealing with that. Every time they try to stab tires, every time they try to stop a vehicle, a federal vehicle, from going into a federal building, that right there is giving them their way in at why they're there. So the people that are out in the streets are creating the situation that they're trying to say they don't want to create. Because by them being there, it's creating the situation they say that they don't want to have. If they weren't out in the street and weren't out actively, being violent to these federal agencies, then the federal government wouldn't have to come in and force. They are required by law to enforce our federal immigration. Just because another president prior to this didn't enforce it doesn't mean that that was right. And why would any American citizen really give a rat's ass whether somebody stays here from another country or not? I don't care. Anybody that spends that much time worrying about somebody from a different country, you needed a hobby, okay? You need a life. You need to quit being so angry. But you can't, because you're most likely a liberal white woman that has run literally every single person in your life off. The next option is Section 253, which is to protect civil rights. And in my opinion, I think that they are protecting some civil rights in this area too. And it's when citizens' constitutional rights are being denied and state authority fail or refuse to protect them, much like what we're seeing out in Portland, Oregon. I think that Donald Trump has 2 sections out of 3 sections for Portland, Oregon. Section 252 and Section 253, because the police department nor the state is actually protecting law-abiding citizens. They're pandering to the terrorists, the domestic terrorists. How do I know they're domestic terrorists? Because they're Antifa. They've been designated as a domestic terrorist organization. And Portland Police Department are working with a terrorist organization. And then wagging their finger at us. Okay, great. What authorizes it? The president can deploy active duty military and federalized National Guards. Federal troops can perform law enforcement functions, arrest, curfew, and protecting property. Federal police remain operational but become secondary to federal command during specific federal missions. This is important because you guys hear district and federal judge denying Donald Trump's ability when he has clear authority to do these things. Those judges should be fired. They know that they have clear authority to do these things, and they are literally obstructing the will of a sitting president, as if they are the ruler of this country when none of us had voted for them. I hope that we get to a point where we can start ripping these judges from the bench. Not physically, but firing them and getting people to replace them that do not allow the bias of the Republican or the Democrat Party infiltrate them. It's getting to the point where we may have to say, if you have voted in an election, you cannot be thought of for a judge. That's unconstitutional. I get it, but who can trust a judge after what we've been going through over the last 10 years? I don't trust anybody anymore. That's pretty sick. The federal troops can perform law enforcement functions, arrest, we already read that, local and state and local rights. States retain civil authority for everything outside the scope of the federal mission. Governors and state officials can protest or challenge the president's action in court, but cannot legally block it once lawfully invoked. So the only people breaking the law right now, imagine this, are the governors, the mayors, and the city officials that are literally obstructing federal work. Those are the only people breaking the law. The feds aren't breaking the law according to the law. Key limitations: must be formally proclaimed and justified by statutory criteria. Military use must end when order is restored. Overreach can be challenged judicially and politically. Congressional oversight. And then the last one is the National Emergencies Act. I'm not going to really go through that. And this one is basically, I'll just read a few things on this one. This one doesn't provide anything for anything we're dealing with here. It's for like national disasters. And it's providing a standardized framework for president to declare national emergencies and to activate specific powers scattered through federal law. There is over 120 statutory powers that can be triggered. That's interesting. We need to go through those. Let me highlight that so I remember to go back and look into that. That's interesting. 120 statutory powers. Interesting. How is it triggered? The president issues a formal proclamation in the Federal Register stating a national emergency must specify which legal powers are being invoked. What it authorized depends entirely on which statutes the president cites. For example, seizing property or controlling exports for national security, freezing foreign assets, or imposing sanctions. Ooh, he might be using this one too. Should. Now when I'm reading this sounds like RICO, baby. This sounds like RICO, okay? Freezing foreign assets, imposing sanctions, calling up certain military reserves, regulating transport and communications in war or terrorism. Wow. Okay. I misread this one a lot. I was thinking of hurricanes. But no, this is like wartime stuff here. The NEA itself doesn't directly federalize state or local police. However, it empowers federal agencies like DHS, FBI, etc. to act more broadly, which can overlap with local jurisdiction. States and localities keep full police power unless another statute like the Insurrection Act is invoked. Congress can terminate a national emergency by joint resolution. The emergency must be renewed annually by the president. The courts can review whether invoked powers are constitutional. So I got a table here. We'll go over this table. So over the three ones, we have the Stafford Act, the Insurrection Act, and National Emergencies Act. So the main purpose of the Stafford Act is for disaster aid and coordination. Who declares it? The governor requests it. Or limited presidential action. Federal powers granted is FEMA aid and resource coordination. The local and state role retains control. Federal support only. Can be done without state consent, yes, but very, very rarely has it been done. The Insurrection Act restores order and enforces laws. President with or without request. The use of military federalized guards for law enforcement and subordinate to federal commands during ops and can be done without state consent, yes. National Emergencies Act. Again, I think this is being used in Portland because Portland is the one that has the domestic terrorists that have been designated and activates special powers under other laws. President alone can declare this. President alone can declare this. Depends on statutes, invoke economic and security, retain normal police powers, federal powers granted as depending on statute invoked. And what is this local and state role? And it's to remain, they retain normal police power, and this can be done without anybody's consent. president alone can enact those. So everything that we're seeing that the Democrat Party is screaming from the podiums and the lecterns that is unlawful, clearly I have the laws that permit the president from doing exactly what he's doing. And the reason why it has to be so public and so ugly is because the states are unwilling to work with federal law. They've created sanctuary cities, and we're saying a federal law says you cannot do that. We need to have these illegal people out of these states and back home where they belong. And if you can do that, typically they've always cooperated. They've always worked. If they have it, they call ICE. They don't care. But right now they're in a quagmire because they do not have the votes. They have lost a mess of people from the Democrat side. They have gotten so radicalized that the majority of their voters want us dead and are trying to kill us. This is not a good look for the Democrat Party at all. So they're losing, normal people by the droves, and they're only left with all the crazies. So if you guys are voting with the Democrat Party, you're voting with the crazies at this point, okay? Because the people from the Democrat Party, if they just can't stand an R, they put an I next to their name. They're independent at this point. They do not want anything to do with the Democrat Party. It's gone crazy. We've watched the Democrat Party lose their ever-loving mind. Let's be honest. I don't know why. I can't imagine that this is really all for money and power. There's something bigger at play here, and I think it's the world stage. I think it's the world domination. I think it's the playbook that they're trying to get a hold of 60 years from now. And we've just really caused a crinkle in that advancement, their 60-year advancement. You got to remember, this stuff didn't happen overnight. This was a playbook put together 40 years ago, okay? And we're just now realizing the consequences of stuff we voted for 40 years ago. So if we're not fixing it now at rapid speed, we're losing time. Because they took a big chunk while the Republicans were asleep at the wheel, like we mostly always are, because we always want to play above, right? We never want to get down into the gutter and start kicking shit with these shitheads. Well, now you got a president that's ready to kick the shit out of these shitheads in the gutter where they came from. And we're perfectly fine with that. And we're perfectly fine going to church on Sunday and praising God as well. Just in case you were curious. So that's kind of where we're at. We've got a lot still to go over. That's really all I have to go over related to this, the rights of the president. I thought that was so important. I wanted to make sure we went over that for you guys early on in the show. We still have a lot of videos left to go through. Now that we're done with that did take me a lot longer than I had anticipated, so I apologize, but I do appreciate you guys being here and sticking around.
I'm shocked by Governor Pritzker and his willingness to let murderers and rapists run his state and have a free-for-all against the people that live in there without making it safe for families. And that's what has been the most shocking to me, is to see these local governors and mayors not stand up for law and order. That we will go into Chicago, we will go into Portland, and we'll make sure we have the backs of our law enforcement. And that's what the Department of War is providing for us. When we go out and do operations and the local law enforcement are told to stand down, that they can't be there for us, it's extremely dangerous for these ICE officers, for these CBP agents that are out there trying to help go after these dangerous criminals. So we will use President Trump's methods and his abilities to deploy a whole of government approach, which means the Department of War will come in and help provide that security so we can continue to do our work.
You notice the words that they're using after learning the rules, right? Because one of the rules for them being able to go in there is under the Insurrection and National Emergencies Act. But I think it's the Insurrection Act that says, here it is, Section 252, or make it impossible to enforce U.S. law in any state. And I think they're using that because They're not protecting them. And you notice now that we have the language from the statute, we're hearing every time they go online or every time that they have an opportunity for an interview, they're using specific language. They're using that specific language because that's what's authorizing them to do what they are doing. So now we're kind of seeing a little bit more.
You know, I'm sure.
Okay, so that was done with that. I thought these were interesting, so just bear with me. All this stuff.
Information from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're saying former Des Moines Superintendent Dr. Ian Roberts has an extensive criminal record and immigration history dating back to 1994. So let's walk through it. In 1994, he entered the U.S. as a visitor on a B-2 non-immigrant visa. Then 2 years later, he was charged with possession of narcotics with intent to sell them.
If you guys don't understand this, this is one of the most perplexing immigration captures. This guy was the leader, the superintendent of the largest school district in Iowa. He had an extensive criminal history, and he was here illegally. And they put him around all of these kids running a school, and he was nothing more than a drug dealer. Did you guys hear that? The largest district in Iowa hired an immigrant, an illegal immigrant that was nothing but a glorified drug dealer to run their school and their county. Nothing to see over here, folks. Nothing to see over here at all.
And possession of forgery and forged instruments. Basically, they're claiming that he made a false document with intent to deceive others. Then in 1998, he entered the U.S. on an F1 student visa 3 different times throughout 1998. Then in 2000, Roberts applied for employment authorization. Now, this application was accepted and it would expire in 2001. This is also the year he applied for, or the first time he applied for a green card. But this application was denied in 2003. Then in 2004, his F1 student visa did expire. Then we're moving 8 years later into 2012. He was convicted in Maryland for reckless driving, unsafe operation, and speeding. Now, this was all on the same day on November 1st. Now, in 2018, he did apply for a green card 3 more times, but he was denied each time. Now, in 2020, he was charged with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th degree weapons possession, but the second was found incomplete. Now, he was also issued a notice to appear before an immigration judge. Now, 2 years later, in 2022, he was found guilty with unlawful possession of a firearm. Then in 2024, he got his final order.
You guys understand, he shouldn't even have been here. He should have been in jail. A superintendent running the largest school district in Iowa should have literally been in jail because he's a thug. A thug! And you wonder why we have the laws that we have. Everybody wants to bitch about the laws that we have, but look at this. We had a freaking drug thug running school districts. This is insanity.
Of removal from the United States, which we've been talking about all week. Then in 2025, a Dallas judge denied a motion to reopen his case. Now, we know last Friday, Dr. Ian Roberts was detained by ICE where they found a gun and a knife in his possession. Then court documents show on October 1st, he was charged as, quote, an illegal alien in possession of firearms. Today, we're learning some new information from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're saying former Des Moines...
Lots and lots and lots of information. Lots and lots of information.
That you and your agents do. We are so grateful. It cannot be an easy job, but we know that you guys are the best of the best. I think as America watches what's happening in Chicago and in Portland, and we've seen it across the country, but those seem to be the hot spots right now, we wonder, National Guard, you know, they're telling us that they're not needed, but your agents on the ground, your facilities, would the National Guard certainly help your agents do their job and do it safely?
Well, Tommy, thanks for having me. Absolutely, the National Guard is going to help. When you have large, unruly crowds like that, folks that are carrying firearms mere feet away from Border Patrol agents and ICE officers, folks that want to hurt, maim, and kill law enforcement officers.
Exactly.
And that's where we're at right now, Tommy. Absolutely, we do need those National Guard members.
Right. Well, when it looks like a war zone, you need to protect your agents and you need to protect those federal facilities. I'm wishing the best, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. But President Trump has made it very clear he will defend the agents and he will defend the facilities. So I think now is the time, if not any moment now.
Yeah, let me dive in on this. I love what you said there, Tommy, and I think this is super important as we take a look at these pictures of ongoing protests. I just want to ask you this, Agent.
Does it look like law enforcement has it under control? Because I don't know, from where I'm standing, they do not have this under control. It's chaotic. They don't have what it takes to keep these areas under control. They just do not.
From your perspective, are you getting the kind of help that you would expect from leadership in places like Portland in particular, but also in Chicago? Because what I've noticed as a resident of Washington, D.C., they weren't necessarily thrilled about it, but the truth is the National Guard has made things demonstratively better for the citizens, and that's the point here, is it not?
That is indeed the point. This started in Los Angeles, if you remember.
Yeah.
It did start in Los Angeles. They were trying to erupt a huge insurrection there over, I can't even remember what that was all over, the ICE agents coming in there. And then they realized they only had limited stuff that they can do in that state. So he decided to roll out Washington, D.C., where he had a lot more authority in that area than he does in Los Angeles. And he cleaned that up in less than a week. In less than a week. Why would any governor not want the feds to come in on their dollar to clean up their streets? Like 15 years ago, this would be a no-brainer. Everybody would have been begging for the feds to come in and clean up their problem areas. Everybody. What's changed? It's become profitable for the mayhem. That's what changed. When it becomes profitable for the mayhem will erupt.
Yeah.
With the deployment of several thousand troops to Los Angeles to protect those federal buildings, to protect ICE and Border Patrol agents, we're seeing that same thing now in Portland and in Chicago. If locals won't step in to help do that job, then we will. And that's what's happening right now.
And remember, we know for a fact locals are not doing it. We've watched time and time again Portland turn their back on enforcing the law. We watched time and time again. We just heard about Chicago not even showing up when federal agents were being ambushed and almost killed. Like, I tell you what, that angers me so bad. Like, if I had an opportunity, I'd probably smack the governor in his face. I'd probably do it. Because you know what? His mama should have done it. Might be, hyperbole, but who knows? I don't see the governor's face within swatting distance. I guess we'll find out if he's ever in swatting distance, area from Bullhorn Betty. We'll see how Bullhorn Betty acts at that point. Is it hyperbole? I don't know. I really don't. I wish I could tell you it is, but I don't. I honestly feel if I saw J.B. Pritzker, I'd be like white on rice all over him. I'd be like a hyena. Right? I'd be like a Delilah after not seeing me for 2 hours.
We're going to conduct this mission. This is going to be a successful mission, and we won't be deterred from that mission. Those National Guard troops are going to be integral for that mission.
So we're hearing, National Guard troops, they're needed. Now we're going to kind of take a different approach, because this is to do with kind of our talking points, but not. This is kind of on a side topic. If you guys have been watching me, we've been talking about how they've been removing the parents out of the children's lives. They've been doing this for a purpose. The purpose has been this transgender stuff. Why are they trying to confuse our children? I don't know. Why are they trying to have our children mutilate their bodies when they don't know what they're doing? I don't know why they're doing that. The only thing I can think of is it has something to do with their 60-year plan, okay? I don't know. But at the end of the day, we know that they started removing the parents from the student, back when they started doing the Common Core. This was all very, very strategic from the Democrat Party to separate the child from the parent so they can start indoctrinating the child. They got this whole plan because of ISIS, okay? I will tell you where they got this. This is not rocket science. This is not inventing a new will. They looked at at how ISIS was able to brainwash and indoctrinate their culture. And so they picked that up and started doing it to our children. They realized the sooner and the earlier that they get in the children's lives, the better. That's why they're hitting those children with drag queen shows at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. They're trying to get to them younger and younger. Why? Because that's what ISIS does. You want to know why little children can strap bombs on them and walk up to it's because that's what they're doing to our kids. They took this playbook from the radical Islam. I don't want Islam in this country. It will be death to America. It will truly be death to America. And I'm not playing with that. Call me an Islamophobe, call me whatever you want. I love Muslim people. I don't like the religion. I don't like the religion. So this is a father that is explaining why he's pissed off.
Now you're going to remember my name. You'll remember it because I'm not just fighting for my daughter. I'm fighting to make sure that what happens to me, to my family, never happens to another parent in this district. My daughter changed her identity, not after years of discussion or family dialogue, not after joint input from both of her parents. No, this happened quickly, secretly, encouraged by a school-appointed therapist and a system that never thought to include me. And the school didn't inform me, they didn't include me, they didn't even ask me, they replaced me. By the time I found out, I was already labeled the problem. My objections weren't treated as concerns, they were treated as opposition. My voice was dismissed as hateful, my presence undermined. The therapist, the school, and eventually the court-appointed investigator all decided that because I would affirm something, I didn't deserve to parent my daughter equally anymore. They didn't accuse me of abuse, they didn't claim I'd caused harm. The only evidence against me was that I said I'm not ready to affirm this yet. That's it. And now I'm at risk of losing parenting time, of being erased from my daughter's life, not because I failed as a father, but because I dared to ask questions. And it started in your schools. Your systems made it possible. And your silence made it permanent. You gave my ex all the tools she needed to take our daughter from me. Tools that she couldn't have forged on her own. You gave her the therapist, you gave her the ideological support, and you never once thought, shouldn't the father be involved too? I was supposed to have one opponent in this fight for my daughter. One voice with equal say, one person across the table who I would battle for influence. And that person was supposed to be my ex. But you gave her reinforcements. You gave her a system that cut me out of the picture. You handed her the tools to eliminate me from my daughter's life. And with your help, she's trying to erase me altogether. You replaced my voice, you stole my seat at the table, and you made decisions about my daughter without me. Don't think you can take a man's child from him and not reap a whirlwind. You don't get to raise our children for us, and if those who replace you try as you have, we'll replace them too. Get your kids out of Jefferson County now. You don't know how far this route goes until it comes for you. And after you do, speak out, join me, and take back what's ours. The right to raise our kids.
Bam, the right to raise our kids.
I'm not going to get into the conversations I've had.
You're here and you're under oath, and this is an oversight hearing. And we need to know what you're doing because you're manifestly not doing your job. Ms. Marcos, can I just start with you? You testified a moment ago to Senator Butler that every child gets a Know Your Rights presentation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that before or after you release them to labor traffickers?
Senator, every child that comes into our care gets a Know Your Rights presentation as well as...
Have you read these New York Times reports? these stories, the series of stories the New York Times has done on the children who are in your care? Have you read them?
Yes, I have.
Have you read that children are scrubbing dishes? They are operating heavy machinery. They are delivering meals. They are harvesting coffee. They are working construction. They are working as housekeepers. They are working overnight shifts at plants where they are not paid. They are not going to school. They are not cared for. They are not giving meals. Almost all of it illegally. Are you aware of that? That's a yes or no.
Yes.
Do the Know Your Rights presentation help them in those situations?
Wow.
Senator ORR.
That's a yes or no, I think. Do you really think that you're helping?
So they know that these kids are coming over here from these other countries. They know they're being forced into labor and sex. And they give them a pamphlet. And then they shame us and call us bigots because we don't want this in our country or for these young people. This is a congressional oversight. This is all under oath. This is what mainstream media refuses to let you guys hear or know about what's going on, what's truly going on.
These children by releasing them to labor traffickers and, yes, sex traffickers, 85,000 children whom you have no contact with, and your answer is we gave them a presentation before we turned them over to these people who are exploiting them on a scale not seen in this country for 100 years, a century. A century. It's a disgrace in the United States of America. Let me ask you this. You did an audit, I noticed, where you gave yourself a clean bill of health. So just tell me this. Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Senator, we have a thorough vetting process.
Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Yes, we go through.
No, you do not.
Wow.
You do not. Have you read the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations reports on your office? There was one in 2016. There was one in 2018. There was one in 2020. There was one in 2022. Spanning administrations, what they found is you do not require sponsors to document their relationship with the child. You release them anyway.
So what they're basically saying is they're giving these kids to child predators. They don't care. They never cared. They want the votes. They don't care what they're doing to these poor little children. The Democrats want the votes. Remember, we're the party that wants to cage the kids, remember? At least we ain't raping them.
What about background checks? Do you require background checks on all adults in the household?
In cases where the child is being released to their parents, we do not require background checks. But Senator, I would
Do you
really
require
like,
background checks on all adults in the household in any case?
Yes, in some cases we do.
What percentage of cases do you do background checks on the adults in the household?
I don't have that number in front of me.
Do you do home visits in all cases? You can actually see where these children are being released, whose care you're putting them in?
We do not do home visits in
Oh
all
my
cases.
God.
Senator, I'd really like the opportunity to talk about what we are doing.
Oh my God. They're putting kids in houses without even a home check. I want to know how many of these kids have been raped and murdered. Because I guarantee we've got thousands of kids that have been raped and murdered in this country. Thousands. Not hundreds. I guarantee thousands.
I know what you're doing, and it's incredibly and totally inadequate. And we can read about it in the New York Times. Since you say you've read it, let's talk a little bit about that New York Times report, if we could. Here's a quote from the April 17th installment. Again and again, veteran government staffers and outside contractors told HHS, including reports that reached the secretary, that children appeared to be at risk. Did you warn the secretary that children were at risk?
Senator, I'm in regular contact with the secretary.
Did you warn him that children were at risk?
Safety and well-being of children is our top priority.
Did you warn him that children were at risk?
I'm not going to get into the conversations I've had.
You're
with the
here and you're
secretary.
under oath, and this is an oversight hearing. And we need to know what you're doing because you're manifestly not doing your job. Did you warn him that children were at risk? Do you believe that children are at risk? Let's start with that.
Yes.
Okay. Did you warn the secretary?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics of my conversation, but I would like the opportunity
Why
to
wouldn't
talk
you
about-
warn the secretary that children were at
I would
risk?
like the opportunity to talk about what we
Let's
are
look at what the
doing.
secretary said to you. The other one, James. Yeah, that one. At least 5 HHS staff members said they were pushed out after raising concerns about child safety.
Wow.
Mr. Becerra, the secretary, told the ORR director, that's you, right, that if she could not increase the number of discharges, he would find someone who could.
Wow.
And then he went on to say that if Henry Ford had run his plants like this, he would never have become famous and rich. Wow. This is not the way you do an assembly line. Get the kids out, run them through, get them out to those sponsors, those traffickers.
Wow.
Why didn't you resign when he said this? Do you think that this is morally acceptable?
Wow.
Senator, I joined ORR in September of 2022. I believe that was reported prior to my arrival, but I cannot speak
This is from
to-
an article this year.
I can't speak to what the secretary.
Do you think that this is acceptable to run ORR like an assembly line and to release these children
I
to
can assure you, we
traffickers?
do not run ORR like an assembly line. The safety and well-being of children is our top concern, and by
Plainly
statute-
not. Plainly, it is not your top concern because you have managed to lose 85,000 of them. And the Times knows where they are, or 2/3 of them, and they're with labor traffickers. It's unbelievable. Let me just ask you this.
85,000.
How many kids right now, of the 430,000 approximately, unaccompanied children have crossed the border under this administration? It's an astounding number. How many are you in regular contact with right now?
Senator, we have a number of different providers across the country who
But what's the
provide
number? What's the number? How many of you are you in? You said child welfare is your top concern. What's the number?
I don't have the specific numbers.
How can you not know? Why would you come to this hearing and not know?
Respectfully, if you would like us to provide comprehensive case management to children after they're released from our care, so we can report.
Respectfully, I would like you to do your job and not release children to human traffickers. Respectfully, that's what I would like. I'd like you not facilitate the largest child trafficking ring in American history.
Wow. 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 Chicago police ordered not to respond after car ramming attacked into federal agents. We've already heard about that. Let's listen to this.
Your best thanks is to answer.
Okay, well, I'll tell.
Here is just another one. This is I like Senator Kennedy. He cracks me up. Okay, he is a country folk, and trust me, he's not dumb. He speaks a little slow for effect. I think he does that so he can put his. He likes to poke the fire with the stick. Okay, it's just the way he is. But he does. There was something he was doing. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but I started. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody changed, like they were talking about. Remember, we did the on the Bullhorn Betty channel. We did what did we do? We did the shrimp. Remember I told you that we found out the shrimp was radioactive? We did a little clip before one of our shows, our true crime shows. And, he was up there and he's like, it was showing an alien shrimp. He took it straight out of the Alien movie. Well, anyways, they turned that into Maxine Waters. They're like, this is what you're going to look like if you eat the contaminated shrimp. So anyways, I was laughing my ass off. Every time Kennedy comes on, I start laughing because he's just hilarious to me, okay? I'm not going to lie. He cracks me up with the way, and he keeps such a straight face, and he has this way of doing it. One day I aspire to be professional like them, but until that day, I'm still going to show you my face. I don't know if I can hide it. These are professionals. Don't ever underestimate Senator Kennedy. He is a politician, okay?
tell you that anti-Semitism has been rising, especially since the 2017
but has the
Charlottesville
Trump administration
attack.
caused that? Is that your testimony?
I wouldn't say the Trump administration has caused anti-Semitism. Has there been an increase since Trump has entered office? Yes.
Do you see a causal connection there?
Yes.
Why?
Trump has highlighted and platformed neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
Okay. Mr. I can't see that far.
Racklin.
Mr. Racklin, I understood you to say that in answer to Senator Durbin's question, the spending reductions, reducing the federal budget would increase anti-Semitism. Isn't that what you said?
No, I did not. I said that the constant threats to cut money to the Office for Civil Rights and the Department of Education prevents the federal government from adequately investigating anti-Semitism and other hate crimes on college campuses.
So you think one way to stop anti-Semitism is to give people more money? Is that
I
right?
think one of the ways is to actually fund people that are actually designed to investigate anti-Semitism on college campuses.
What's there to investigate? We see it.
We see it,
saw
but just as-
Did you watch television? Did you see what happened at Columbia?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear to me that the administration at Columbia and most members of the faculty believe passionately in diversity, equity, inclusion, and the right to hurt Jews. That's what I saw. Isn't that what you saw?
I saw.
Isn't that what you saw?
I saw protesters against the war in Gaza and them using some anti-Semitic slogans and thoughts. I would say, however, that it's hard. I would say,
isn't that
however,
what you're telling me?
that it's
That's not what you
difficult
saw.
For
You're
the
now
federal
don't get off
government
the
to
subject
invest- No,
on
I'm
me
not.
now.
I'm
You're telling me
difficult.
that's not what you saw.
I'm telling you that it is difficult for the federal government to adequately address the issue of anti-Semitism.
Are you telling
without
me
appropriate
the
resources.
Columbia administration and the faculty was supportive of the Jewish community?
I think that they are
You
trying
need to
find.
stop dipping into your ketamine stash.
Excuse me?
Now, that if we're going to solve this problem, we need to talk about it. And it wasn't just at Columbia. It was at Berkeley. It was at UCLA. It was at Bernard. And Columbia has a history of discriminating against Jewish people. They used to refuse to let Jewish students come to their university.
Wow.
Now, you can try to bubble wrap this, but that's what I saw. If you want to stop a lot of the...
So you mean to tell me that the Democrat-ran schools are the racist schools? They don't like Jewish people. They're anti-Semitic. Huh, interesting. So they call us racist when they're racist. They call us fascist when they're fascist. Interesting. Is that the definition of projection? Or I'm just curious, asking for a few thousand people, maybe a few million people at this point.
Anti-Semitism, maybe we need to stop teaching kids to be anti-Semitic.
Sir, I would relish that opportunity.
Let me ask you a question, Ms. Kohab. Did I say that right?
Kohab.
Do you think it's possible to feel compassion for the Palestinian people without hating Jews?
Absolutely.
Would you elaborate on that? Because it looks to me like many of our Ivy League universities, it's not they weren't the only ones. Some universities handled it well. Vanderbilt, University of Chicago, Tulane. But it looks like the administration was teaching kids you got to pick a side. Mm-hmm. You either have to hate Jews or you have to be for Hamas. You can't be. There's no middle ground. Tell me what you saw. You've written a book about it. Maybe Mr. Rocklin ought to read it.
We're going to hear this comment and we're going to move on.
Just because we are testifying, I wrote a chapter in the anthology Young Zionist Voices about what's happening on college campuses, and my book is coming soon, so look out for that.
Good plug, but
so let me answer your question.
Can you feel compassion for the Palestinian people and not hate Jews?
Absolutely. I think that what I've seen on college campuses is a pushing of a Marxist framing of the way that you see the world. And this is not only in liberal studies departments. I've taken dance classes, I've taken creative writing classes, where your final project is literally called the political is personal. And what they're teaching you on college campuses is that the political is personal and that everything should be personalized. And there's a global north, a global south, a global right, and a global wrong. And the issue with college campuses and what's happening right now in the United States is that we're allowing ideology to drive violence. A society that says that you can commit violent acts based on your ideology because your ideology is correct is a society that's eroding. And that's what I see on college campuses.
Very, 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 very important information. Very important information. And I've got a couple more. Let me see if I want to pick these up. These are all off topic. So I think I've done everything that I wanted to get through, wanted to show you on this particular platform. So how is the Democrats going to mess up America today? They're breathing. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I need to stop. I need to stop. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that. That just slipped out. I got a pop mouth, you know. It just kind of pops out. I'm just joking. We don't want to see any harm come to these boneheads. We don't. But they did open their mouth, and they did close down our country, and they are inciting violence around this country to hurt people like me and our federal government, and they want civil war. They want civil war. So, you know, somebody like me, I have no respect for these people on my screen. If I had an opportunity to piss on them, I probably would. I do identify with that, but the one thing you don't hear me say is I wish they were dead. Okay? Or I can't wait to see a bullet go through their head. Those are the things you don't hear me saying. What I do want to see is them go to court, them go and have criminal charges against them. I'd like to see the court system actually handle their insurrection, their coup, their treason, their crimes against the American people, and whatever comes of that, I would love to see. But I do not believe in taking law into your own hand. Pissing, on the other hand, we all have pissing contests. I can piss further, okay? If you guys are just curious, I can definitely piss further, okay? So, if anybody's curious, you don't need to chat. Let me just save you guys the headache. Don't need to see your junk. Don't need to see your trunk either. How are they going to mess up America today? They're going to keep it shut down. That's how they're going to do it. We don't care. We're going to stay in solidarity. If it takes 7 weeks, we're going to struggle through the 7 weeks for the people, for the moms that are on WIC and other things. We do have food banks open to help you through these troubled times in every single state. There are places you can go to get help if you do not get your WIC, if you do not get your food stamps. There are places. And again, if you cannot find a food bank, let Betty know. I'll find something for you. I'll find a delivery service for you. I'll find something. bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I do not want to open this government up if it's going to require us paying $1.5 trillion to a bunch of foreigners, okay? So if I can help out in any other way than that, I'm up for it. So if you guys are struggling, if you need help, please let me know, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. We'll figure it out. But what we will not do is be extorted by these yahoos. Okay? Thank you all for being here. This was a great show. This is one of our first official real in-studio shows. And I do appreciate all the people that did come here. We had 105 views for this show, which, you know, for the first real show on this channel, I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing. And it's on, politics. Not a whole lot of people. This is going to be a whole different genre of people that we're going to be plucking from. So we're going to have a whole different, vibe on this channel from a whole different people that aren't on our true crime channel. So I just wanted to give you guys all a shout out. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me. I hope it was informative. I thought it was really interesting, especially about the Stafford Act, the Insurrection Act, and the National Emergency Emergencies Act. These are what gives the authority to the president to do these things, even though the Democrat Party is trying to say this is all illegal. They don't have authority to do it. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. So quit listening to the Democrats. They're lying to your face. They're nothing but liars, murderers, and insurrectionists, and people that commit treason on the American people every opportunity they get. I hope that most of them meet their day in a federal court somewhere. I hope justice is served to all of these people you see behind me. And I will not stop until I see the day that Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi are behind bars. I don't know if we're going to get Obama behind bars. I really don't. Now, I do believe that we are moving hell and earth to get Joe Biden behind bars. He won't remember because he's, obviously checked out to lunch. But I don't think he was a legitimate president. So therefore, I don't think he's going to be protected by, the being a president. You have a lot of ability where you can't be sued for certain things as long as you're acting in your capacity as president. But if he's not a legitimate president and he was using the auto pen and the auto pen really wasn't him and he wasn't authorizing these orders and laws, he doesn't have those protections. He doesn't have those protections. So I'll be interested in finding those out. But Barack Obama, he was a president and he was legitimately a president. And so that's going to be tougher to bring him to court. But Hillary Clinton doesn't have that same ability. She can be brought in, and with the auto pen being used and not authorized by Joe Biden, a lot of these people that think that they were covered by pardons, and not pardons, but whatever it is, they're not. They're not. And they're going to get through that process. And once they find out who's not protected, they're going to go after them. And they should. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe. But more importantly, kind to one another. And again, thank you so, so very much for hanging out with me this afternoon.